When I was a senior in high school, I took advanced composition with Lois Strock. I don't think I have any of the stories or essays or poetry that I wrote for that class, though it's possible that there's a notebook up in those boxes up in the attic. You've got boxes like those, right? That you don't like to think about? Yeah. What I do have is a half sheet of paper of Mrs. Strock's writing. If memory serves, I think she was leading us in an exercise on similes and extended metaphors. And she wrote, "Kate is a magnolia blossom. She looks delicate, but is strong enough to withstand any storm." I don't remember if she wrote a metaphor for everyone in class. She probably did. I don't know what anyone else might have done with their half sheet of paper, but I can tell you what I did with mine. I brought it home that day and I stuck it on my bulletin board. And then when I left for college, I took it with me and I stuck it on another bulletin board. And from there, it made its way to a scrapbook. And from there, it made its way to a box of notes and memorabilia that sits even this morning on my bedside table, 24 years later. Mrs. Strock didn't tell me who I would be someday, a classic misstep that adults struggle with when talking to children. Rather, she spoke in the present tense. Nor did she suggest that I needed to do anything in particular or change anything in order to earn this identity. Notably, she also did not say what profession I seemed destined for, though at the time I really wanted somebody to tell me what that answer was so that then I would know what major to pick. Instead, she named something even more essential about my identity. What's also important to know is that she named me in this way at a time when I was having trouble believing in God, much less myself. But what she offered me was her belief in me, who she believed I was. And I understood, though I probably couldn't have articulated it at the time, that she would believe this for me until I was ready to believe it for myself. Let's be clear, because Ms. Strock would want us to be clear, she's not Jesus. She really wants you to know that. But she's a really good teacher, like another teacher we know. The best kind of teacher. The kind of teacher who doesn't tell you the answer in a way that finishes the problem, but the kind of teacher who gives you an answer that points to the next question. The kind of teacher who gives you an answer that points to all kinds of new questions and possibilities. Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." You are. You are salt. You are light. Let's think for a moment about the people to whom he's speaking to inside Matthew's gospel. Crowds on a mountain, including his disciples, but pretty much anyone who was curious enough to spend half a day on the side of a hill listening to a rambling preacher with a penchant for similes and extended metaphors. Looking out over the huddled masses, Jesus says, "You are salt. You are needed. You are necessary. You are light. You are already what the darkened world needs. And if Rabbi Jesus could say that with clarity to the students who showed up one afternoon a couple of thousand years ago, rest assured that our teacher Jesus says it just as assuredly to everyone who straggled into class this morning. You are salt. You are light. It's not that you will be salt someday, or that you'll be light once you get all that other stuff figured out. You are salt. You are light. Present tense. The wonderful and yet also unnerving part about learning that the answer to the question, who am I, who are we, is that we are salt and light, is that this answer only points us to all kinds of new questions and possibilities. We have some wondering still to do. Because he didn't say, you are dentists, you are parents, you are Episcopalians. He said, you are light. You are salt. And in so many ways, this answer doesn't actually seem to resolve much at all. And I'm not going to resolve much for you either. What I can do is offer what may be a few helpful characteristics for you to think about as we all think about being salt and light. Here's what's true about both salt and light. A little is often enough. A little can go a long way. A small pinch or a single candle can do the job. Also, both salt and light are really about helping other things and aiding others. Salt's job is actually to highlight and bring out other flavors. Light isn't for its own sake, but is meant to illumine a room, a house, a darkened place. So then, a small offering is enough, And the work or the tasks, those are endeavors we take on for others. Beyond that, it's hard to say what this answer to our identity, this being salt and light, might mean for each individual here today. Which means that we students have some more work to do. Our teacher, Jesus, has given us an answer that leaves us with more questions and more possibilities. What is your small and necessary contribution? How are you serving those around you? These are the questions and possibilities still waiting for us to figure out. But let me say this, because you might not actually be ready for part B. Maybe you are, then go for it. But if perhaps you're not actually sure or convinced that you are salt and light, not confident in that answer, maybe it's hard for you to believe that you have something worth contributing, that your feeble light is enough for the present darkness. I know that feeling. I wonder too. A long time ago, when Mrs. Strock told me that I could withstand storms, I wasn't so confident. And let's face it, I was 17. I didn't really know that much about storms. But two things happened. One, I believed that she believed it. And two, I did survive. Storm after storm large and small, in the days and months and years that followed, for going on 24 years now. And how much more extraordinary is it to know and to believe, to learn that Jesus believes that we are salt and light, that our great teacher believes it for us, believes in our necessity and in our small power. Imagine that. Jesus believing in us, sending us out to be salt and light, counting on us the same way that he did his disciples and all those guys on that hillside, and all the men and women between now and then. And so let's try this. You and I need to try this too. What if we let him believe it for us until we're ready to believe in our own saltiness, ready to believe in our own light shining out day after day, year after year? Jesus stands before the straggling, curious crowd, no more special or called than anyone else, and looks at them and looks at us and says, "You are salt, and you are light. Today, you are needed, you belong. Your small part is so crucial. You're just enough." These answers are true. And now you and I have to answer the next questions that are raised and step into the new possibilities opened up by God's belief in us, that we are salt, that we are light. And so it's time to move on to the next question. How, in the name of Jesus, will you and I be salt in and for God's world?